increase, and hopefully if we increase the number of legislature of my community, that would be a major plus, but let's not base on that, but I want to encourage the private sector to go along to reflect the same, and there's still a challenge to go. So, you know, I'll just, you know, stop here. I you know, apologize if my introduction is so long, but, you know, just, we hardly have opportunity like this, so I want to lay it out. So I'm going to pass to my colleague here for throwing the first question, and we can have a wonderful, maybe even a little relaxed discussion.
Thank you, Senator. So we are very interested in hearing from each of you about the current status of your company, some of the challenges and the opportunities, and with that, to describe for us what are some of the intentional efforts that you are building today within your company and that you want us to participate in. So we heard a question about, you know, what are schools doing? What is happening with the schools? I think that is the same question that many of us have in terms of what's going on in your companies. Could you please describe that current status in your company with respect to the opportunities that exist or the challenges that exist in connection with the participation of people of color and the Latino community within your company? Welcome.
All right, you want me to go first?
Please.
So I'm MJ Horner. I work in human resources at Excel Energy, and I'll talk a little bit about some of the workforce things that we're doing. You know, as a utility company, I think that we have a lot of opportunity in many different ways. For a long, long time, utility companies were businesses where a lot of family members worked there, and it sort of families would see what their parents or their aunts or uncles were doing and follow in their footsteps, especially in some of the field positions. And so we have a lot of opportunity in those positions. I think that, you know, we serve 8 states, including Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, New Mexico, and Michigan. And we have more diverse populations in some of the other states. Minnesota is not as diverse as some of the others, so I think we have a lot more opportunity here. You know, I think that we have about 10% attrition every year, so we have about 1,000 people leave. So we have lots of opportunity to bring in more diverse and different talent. And I think for me, I believe that one of the keys is really getting to students when they're younger and getting the opportunities in front of students that don't normally know what we have to offer. So, because I think we have great paying jobs, we have lots of opportunity, and we have really good career paths for people. And so a few of the things that we're doing, and many people in this room are probably very familiar with programs like Step Up and Right Track, and we get very involved in those. We've been recognized by both of those organizations for our participation. And one of the things that we've been trying to do with Step Up and Right Track and kind of follow a path is provide scholarship opportunities to students of color that are in those programs that are going to college or technical school. And then we also provide opportunities to people who we give scholarships to. We try to leverage those and offer those students internships, and then try to leverage those internships and offer those students full-time employees. And we just started this over the last couple of years, and we've seen some success. The other thing that I would like to talk a little bit about is our legacy program. So as a utility company, we have a really unique opportunity because we belong to a consortium called the Center for Energy Workforce Development. And as utilities, we share best practices with our peer utility companies about workforce development things. So we actually went to Arizona and observed this program in Arizona, which really gets into inner city schools and provides exposure to students, and then also provides them information. This is a partnership with educators, by the way, so people from Minnesota State are also involved in this, and we have some great partners. We provide the students with information and opportunities about what educational programs they need to do to get jobs at our company. So we started this probably, gosh, it's 3 years now, back in 2016, and we piloted it at Harding High School, and we work with 5 or 6 schools within the Twin Cities. And I'm happy to say that we have 5 interns with us from that program right now in various areas. We have 5 students of color that are currently in the line worker program at Dakota County Technical College. They are scheduled to graduate in June, and when these students graduate, they will be the first students of color to graduate from the line worker program at Dakota County Technical College. We also have 5 students of color from that program that are in the Energy Technical Specialist program, which is either at Century College or Dakota County. And I'd like to just give one example of a student, a young Latina lady whose name is Maria, and she's been part of that program. She's in the Energy Technical Specialist program at Dakota County Technical College. And I hesitate a little bit to talk to her because I'm afraid somebody might try to come and steal her from us. But I'd like to talk to her about her because she is a success story. Her first year in the program, we offered her an internship in our gas distribution design program. And about 6 months after she's been in there, she's actually doing work that full-time employees do for our company in distribution design. And the leader of that group has come to me now and said, all right, you have to find me more Marias. And so, well, I don't have any right now, but that's what we're trying to do. So, and this young lady has been so impressive, and we talked to her a lot about what her future could be, and she gave a speech at the graduation ceremony, and she's extremely articulate and just a fantastic employee. So that was one of our success stories from that program, which is just getting started, but I'm very proud of the progress that we've made with that program. Did I miss anything?
No, that's excellent. Very good beginning.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, good morning to everyone. I'm Jewel Smith, and I'm Supply Diversity Manager at Centerpoint Energy. I taught school for about 1.5 years, so let me start with definitions, because I think sometimes we just assume that everybody understands what we're talking about. So I'm going to first start by defining and telling you about Centerpoint Energy. I know that you up here have Centerpoint Energy, and you assume we're gas utility, and that we are. But Centerpoint Energy is an energy delivery company. We're an energy delivery company, domestic energy delivery. So you will see us with electric and transmission distribution, and that will be, we do that in the Houston, Texas area. So in Houston, we're electric and transmission distribution. We're also in 6 other states, and in those states, we are natural gas distribution. So those of you who are in Minneapolis, you know that we give you natural gas. We also have in Minneapolis something that's really interesting for us. We have the Home Service Plus program. So some of you have a policy, or shall I say with us, maintenance of your electric and gas services and things that you use in the electric and gas industry. So we have that. We're also, and we do electric sales and natural gas sales. And so we have an unregulated natural gas sales and service area. And that happens in about 33 other states. So utility, think about 6 states. And then we call it CES for Centerpoint Energy Sales and Services, about 33 states. So that's the makeup of Centerpoint Energy. So I wanted you to understand the broadness of it. So when we get to the part where we're talking about suppliers, then you'll have the grasp of the whole thing. Now, I want to do a term that we throw around, but the term is supplier diversity. And so what is supplier diversity? Broadly, supplier diversity is a set of processes and procedures, normally in supply chain, normally in the procurement area, but really anyone who has the opportunity to buy anything, whether you're in supply chain or outside of supply chain. It is integrating the culture of the company and making sure that there are processes and procedures such that diverse suppliers of all types have the opportunity to compete for goods and services. So when companies do that right, when they do supplier diversity, you should see an opportunity for all types of suppliers to be included for competitive bid opportunities. It's not where you're saying you're going to get a job or you're going to get a contract because you are diverse. Because I'm African American doesn't guarantee that I get the job. But because I'm the best for that opportunity, and I may happen to be African American, then I will get the job. So it's competitive bidding for the best opportunity. So that is supply diversity. Now, I'm going to just briefly touch on why at CenterPoint Energy, why do we do supply diversity? You do it because there's a great return on investment. If it wasn't a great return on investment, certainly you wouldn't see the emphasis and the focus at CenterPoint Energy for supply diversity. So you say, well, Jewel, what kind of return do you get? We get the return that because we are diversified in our opportunities, because we give suppliers an opportunity to compete, we find that we have great savings, great cost savings. We have great flexibility from our suppliers. We have great brand loyalty from our suppliers because with the very diversified approach in there. So that's one of the return on our investment. It hits the bottom line. What's the other return on investment? For those diverse suppliers that we utilize, you will see that they will bring in other employees that generally will look more like them. So we will be impacting the community in a way that we may not, just as CenterPoint Energy, impact the community. But when you bring in diverse suppliers, you will see that they will bring in other diverse in their workplace. When that happens, then that impacts CenterPoint Energy because you start hiring other diverse people in diverse areas. They're going to have a new apartment, they're going to have a new house, they're going to have a new business structure. Those meters are increasing. So it's impacting our bottom line. So the economic impact in the community is also turning and impacting CenterPoint Energy. So that's a return on investment. The other return on investment is the fact that when you talk about the schools, when you talk about pipeline to the company, you will see that people, the information and the branding of the company really disperses itself broadly. And people will start asking questions. We have employees, potential employees, who will ask us the question about how diverse is your company? How diverse is your board? Do you have supply diversity? Those weren't questions we used to get, but we're hearing that now. So the return on investment for CenterPoint Energy is very broad. We do supply diversity because it's not only great for our company, it's great for our community, it's great for our nation, it's great for the world. So I am a passionate supply diversity person. I'm going to tell you one thing. I took a demotion when I first got in this job. I took a demotion to get into supply diversity because it's something that I was so passionate about, and I knew that I could make an impact. And if you're not passionate about this, don't try it. Because it is not the easy thing that you want to do. You will get more pushback than you get, hey, here's an open door. But you know when you're making a dent, when the culture of your company is changing, and I want to say at CenterPoint Energy, it's a cultural change, and I am so proud to work for that company.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jewel.
Thank you.
I like how she talked about ROI, because one of the other things that I think a lot of diverse businesses bring forward is that oftentimes the diverse suppliers are able to be more nimble than some of the larger organizations. So we're seeing a lot of innovation coming from diverse suppliers as well, which is very valuable for the company. Especially at Excel Energy, right now we've seen a big uptick in our supplier diversity spend, and that's due to our installation of new wind facilities. We have a Hispanic-owned business called Mastech, and their subsidiary Wanzik out of Fargo that is doing 4 out of the next 6 wind installations. This year alone, that amounted to about $96 million for a Hispanic-owned business, and we're just growing our wind, as you know, and it's very important to, again, make sure that we are always providing these people with opportunities. And we work with the National Minority Supplier Development Council and its regional affiliates. Jewel and I attend all their events, and at those events we are always put in contact with new suppliers. We also attend the Edison Electric Institute Supplier Diversity Annual Conference, where you have utilities from across the country coming and meeting with new suppliers. So that's how we continue to do outreach on a regular basis. Thank you.
Thank you. Could you talk a little bit more about this national council that you meet with?
Yeah,
and kind of what
yeah,
they do, what they do?
the National Minority Supplier Development Council provides certification for diverse businesses. They make sure that those businesses are 51% owned by the Hispanic or the Asian supplier. And they have regional affiliations. Here in Minnesota, we have the North Central Minority Supplier Development Council, and they are very active. They're always soliciting new businesses to join them and get the certification. Their certification isn't expensive, but it gives you access to large employers across the nation.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm Tom Chavez, General Manager of the Marathon St. Paul Park Refinery. Probably a little background as well. I'm taking a riff off of Jewel. Marathon now, you may be aware, is the largest refinery in the country. We process roughly 3 million barrels of crude in 16 refineries in 13 states. We also own the Speedway brand that's recently come in here. We have about 3,000 to 4,000 company-owned stores and another 8,000 run by independents. We're in a unique position here because the St. Paul Park Refinery was only recently acquired by Marathon. So as much as anything, I'm really here to learn, right? Because what's most important and most challenging in any business is to get the best people, and then to create an environment where they are able to contribute, that they feel valued, that they feel like they're an important part of the team. And so there's two pieces to that. Marathon of itself treats diversity and inclusion as a core value, right? And the difference between a core value and a priority, priorities change, values don't. We've recognized where our refineries are located across the U.S. that you have to be involved in the community, you have to engage in the school systems, understand what the community needs, and to bring those people into your organization if you're really going to be a valued part of that community, and that's really important to us. Here in St. Paul Park, we have about 450 people on the site. We have, on a typical day, 200 contractors, and they can spike to as much as 1,000. Of our local workforce, a major part of those are union and Teamster jobs. Those craft and hourly jobs pay a family wage, and we know that's important to the community. The average rate is roughly $45 an hour, but that does not include, that's direct hourly rate. That doesn't include pension, that doesn't include 401k. We have full maternity and paternity leave. We provide adoption assistance, so we're actively engaged. Initially, a lot of our focus was on STEM resources. We provided the Denver Groves money for their robot team, but we also realized one of our biggest opportunities and where the discussion needs to have, we're having a real challenge when it comes to operator training, right, process technology, and craft skills, right? So that's to get electricians, instrumentation techs, and welders. Often when we have a big job, we have to import those, and a lot of those people come from Texas and Louisiana, right? I think we can get those people here. It's just communicating to the community and the organization the type of jobs those are, and how well they pay, how you can support yourself and your family. But I think some of the things that we have an opportunity to do is to realize that if you're a welder and you like working on with your hands, and welding is not purely a manual labor, you have to take a lot of tests, you have to do a lot of studying. There's all sorts of different types of automated, robotic driven welding that you have an opportunity to do that requires a significant number of certifications. But that also sets you up to on a growth path that allows you to do construction management, inspection, and in fact, in Marathon, you have had people who went through the ranks and become general managers of a refinery, right? These are people who started as hourly, that started as electricians, who then ran multi-billion-dollar organizations because of why? Because we value people, we value what you can contribute, how you work as a team, and we try to set up accordingly. So at this point, one of the things that Marathon also brings to the table is an organization to bring money and resources to bear. Just in a short period of time in the last year between Endeavor and Marathon, we've spent close to $1 million locally. That's both for education. We're getting into a Heroes Foundation, working with local responders to provide key training for the police and firemen. So those are all the things that we're doing. But here again, since Marathon's just acquired St. Paul Park, I have Kate Blair here in Government Affairs. A lot of what we're doing here is looking and listening and understanding. I've been here a year. For me to tell how to be effective in the community is local, right? What worked in Louisiana, what worked in Lake Charles, what worked in New Orleans, what worked in Texas City, what works in El Paso may not be what works here, right? So I probably don't have much to share about what we're doing, but I have a lot of energy and passion to do something, right? To do something to make a difference. I'm an Army brat. My dad was enlisted military, traveled a lot, went to high school in Würzburg, Germany, Columbus, Georgia, and El Paso, Texas before going to school. So I understand getting into the community, getting to know people, listening, and trying to put those effective programs together. So that's what Kate and I are here for, is to understand what do we need to do, because I think it's going to be important for the community, and it's certainly going to be important for my refinery, because over the next couple of years we have demographic shifts. The baby boomers are all leaving. People are looking at welding and electrician and being a process operator, and even an engineer in our industry. They all want to do iPhone apps and maybe become a millionaire in the web business, go on YouTube, and more power to you. But again, like my colleagues here, we have great jobs that are critical to this country, critical to the quality of life, and we pay a family wage. Where can you be at 25 years old, welding, and be able to have a family, and decide if both you and your spouse are going to work or not?
Thank you very much, panel members. Good to start up, this conversation. And my next question to you, supposedly should be closer to the end, but maybe I should just count it down. Is that I know each of you, and you're diversity mission driven, and seeking to get diverse suppliers. What kind of challenge do you face to increase your level of diversity? And I'm not asking that you could meet the quota, or because that's challenging everywhere. Even our State Department still had trouble meeting that challenge. So tell us your challenge in increasing diversity in your own company or operation, and what can we do as legislator? What can we do as legislator across the board and the legislator of color, what can we do to help you to increase diversity? So, yep, go ahead.
You know, we've had lots of challenges, and I talked about a lot of really good things that we're doing, but they haven't come without their challenges. And I would say the legacy program that I mentioned, we actually had two, prior to the successful group that's in the line worker program, we had two groups of students that actually joined the program and dropped out after the first month or two. And I think we underestimated. We just thought we could go out and talk to this diverse population, and immediately they would understand like what great jobs they are and want to do them. And it's not that easy. You know, you really have to. And at the one class that we had, there was a young lady that was in the program, and we were all very excited about that. But we didn't really understand that her being the only young lady in the program, there were lots of different challenges. So I think that we need to understand the different populations of people better and what drives those people and what will make people feel. We talk a lot about inclusivity, but I think we need to figure out what that means and how that can impact people and how that can make people feel. I think we have probably a tendency to welcome in diverse groups of people, but then expect people to assimilate to what we're doing and how we do it, and not really think about how we actually change ourselves or our styles or things like that to make people feel more welcome and want to come and want to stay. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do. And then, you know, just what we're here for today is just starting the conversations and just listening to each other and understanding what each other's needs are. And it's not easy. I think you just have to keep going and keep sticking with it. And as far as what you guys can do, I really would have to think about that. You know, I think just helping this particular forum get started and inviting the conversation, I think, is a really good first step.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on that. I think that the conversation is essential. The fact that whatever you focus on, whatever you measure, gets done. So basically, as you look at from the legislative House session portion, as you look at the PUC session and commissioners, just having a focus on it, having a forum, having a conversation, because this is good for the whole nation. This is good for everyone. There are times when I think that because, you know, and Jim will know this too, but you'd be surprised if people say, I didn't even know that there was that corporations had supply diversity. I never heard of it. And so it needs to be more conversation on it, because this is moving the needle for the whole economy of the nation. And so it has to be on the table. It has to be on the agenda. It has to be focused. So I would say continue with educational forums like this, because as you educate people, then people start responding and they see how they play and how they line up in this great picture of supply diversity, of workforce diversity, of diversity, period. I'm going to talk about what I see from suppliers. So what are some of the challenges? And certainly, I'm going to throw out the fact that sometimes you have diverse suppliers who are so interested in starting a business that they will start something based on, say, an easy entry point. And said, okay, I think I'm going to be promotional services, so I'm going to start with giveaways in the center. Well, when you start looking at the core areas of a utility company, yeah, we buy giveaways, but we don't buy a lot of giveaways. That's not, you're not going to really have your bread and butter instead of on giveaways that a utility company would provide. So you'll have people that will concentrate in areas that are easy entrance areas. So when someone is asking us, okay, well, about our spend, well, yeah, we might have hundreds of suppliers that we're spending dollars with, but that money may be small because you're not in our core area. How many diverse suppliers are we going to have who are doing manufacturing transformers or, you know, doing overhead line construction, et cetera. So the money spots are not the spots that maybe a large number of suppliers are getting into, but there's a solution to that. There's something called strategic teaming alliances. You know, you can position a company such that they align with companies who have that expertise, and that will move them into those core areas. So moving diverse suppliers, more diverse suppliers, and we have quite a few in core areas, but we need more for competition. We need more of those to enter into those areas. So that's one of the things that I would say is a challenge, making sure that we have an ample supply of diverse suppliers. I'm not saying that we don't have any. We probably have diverse suppliers in every area, but an ample supply for competition is what we need. And that comes through what we call capacity building and strategic alliances. So that's something we need to focus on. The other thing that challenges for us, sometimes we can get great suppliers and they are in our core area, and somebody comes because they're doing great and we want to buy them out. And they buy them out and they don't happen to be diverse buyers. So how can we position our diverse suppliers such that even the angel investors are diverse? How can we have financing for diverse suppliers such that those who are buying them out are also diverse and they can maintain that same focus? So that's a challenge that we have. And then I would say the third thing is that we have some suppliers that we have to constantly educate. When you come in, you come into a company, you keep those relationships, but you have to continuously build relationships because maybe the person who brought you in, they may retire, or they move and they go to a different area. And so you have to not get complacent. And once you get there, it is your obligation to continuously build relationships, to continuously look and understand the vision of that company going forward. Because we brought eyeglasses today, it doesn't mean 10 years from now we're buying the same kind of eyeglasses. So stay current on what's happening in the industry such that you don't find yourself being sidelined. So those are the challenges.
Thank you, Jim. Pardon me if I was gonna inject, another thing. I appreciate your comment about, us trying to, be more involved and having a conversation like this as ongoing. I just want to tap on the question that mainly because sometimes when we hold professional events and we have grassroots community or community owners, sometimes it's a little hard hit. So professional executives don't come the next time. So my question to you is, would you come again if we have something like this? And I want to take this opportunity to also acknowledge Susie Wong, who is an agent in energy person. Let's say if you have something like this again, would you come and would?
The answer is a resounding yes.
and tap along that note is that, and I want those folks to be educated that in Minnesota is largely Southeast Asian. You see the chart that Hermione presented earlier. Asian is quite high on the top of the chart, compared to other minorities. But if you break that down, Southeast Asian are at the bottom. When it comes to economic opportunity growth, we're the same like Latino, African Americans. So just want to set that in place. Whether if you bring someone who may look like us, but may not be like us. So, yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to inject that. So, go ahead.
And again, to piggyback off of Jules' comments, for us in terms of trying to identify the suppliers is often difficult, but also we need them to be at the level where it's scalable and they can actually serve the needs of a company like Excel. And oftentimes, if we can't use them directly, we will make sure that a lot of our other large prime contractors have active supplier diversity programs and that they can then subcontract those with those large primes. And we even host procurement fairs at Excel's 2 main locations, both here in Minneapolis and in Denver. We host annual procurement fairs where they not only have the opportunity to meet with Xcel Energy's supply chain personnel, they also have the opportunity to meet with specific large primes, like Mortensen Construction has a very active supplier diversity program. And a lot of new suppliers can get in with Mortensen, build their history, build their companies, and then eventually they oftentimes can then contract with Xcel Energy. And right now we're working with the North Central Minority Development Council to actually do a supplier development program so that new suppliers, the benefit is not only just the certification, but they can actually learn how to develop their businesses, grow their businesses so that they are scalable.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's see, Peter? Do you have any comments?
Well, ours are fairly similar, right? Because all our big money is going to be in construction and industrial services, right? So that requires a certain skill set and a certain level of performance. So to be able to understand what that is, what your qualifications are, what we measure, right? Because your safety, your compliance, and your liability performance are paramount. So you have to develop that track record of performance before we're gonna be entertaining that. So to understand what those are, and then it comes down to relationships. So that again, you can start small, work subcontract with our local, whether it's Starcon, Vite, another good union shop that we use a lot, and to get started that way. I know there's going to be a huge opportunity now with marathons just across the board, because we do have about a $10 billion a year spend, right? And so that's a lot of opportunity, and I know we're going to be looking to see how we best spend that money, as well as ensure that we have diversity and inclusion as part of our measuring stick in terms of how we perform.
Thank you very much. Our session is happening at the same time, so we have to okay. So of course we have to go and check in, and I will be doing the same as well if you see me disappear a little while. But thank you for your question. The next question to you is that